I apologize if this seems overexposed. I had to turn the flashlight on to do this video. I wanted to check the polarity of the speaker wiring because when I ran this in series with mine, it sounded weird. And looking at the speaker, there's a gasket here, which is loose in the speaker itself. I don't think that's supposed to be loose. And the wire is actually trapped beneath the speaker frame. I think I'm going to have to remove this whole thing. And I'm not quite sure how to go about it. Started off as I want to make sure the polarity was correct, and I see some missing hardware down there. That would explain that stuff that was rattling around inside. So the speaker is attached from the rear, not from the front. And the grill cloth is screwed to the baffle. And the baffle's got some missing hardware. There's a bolt on the other side. That's the one I'm not sure how I can reach. Certainly can't do it one-handed while doing a video. I'll have to change the setup here. All right, I'm just gonna have to feel my way around to this missing one. I was loose anyway. The one on the other side, it's not missing, sorry, the one I can't see, but it was certainly very loose. What a very compelling video this must make. So get the hardware out. So each one has just got a nut and then a tooth washer. That's gonna be a lot of fun to put back. I can't get that tooth washer to budge. So I'll do the ones that I can see next. And then this is gonna be a lot of fun because it's a very heavy speaker. I've got to lift it up enough to slide it up and out without touching any of these pointy screws sticking up to the cone. I'm concerned about that gasket back there, which hopefully we'll have a better view of soon. Maybe we'll find out what this speaker is. Looking around, I've seen descriptions of CTS, including Alnicos, and I've seen mentions of JBLs. This is some kind of huge, seemingly ceramic, but I don't see any manufacturing codes on it yet. Let's see if I can get these washers out. They're really wedged in place over time. Slow and steady wins the blah, blah, blah. That's one washer and tooth washer out. Those don't have washers, just tooth washers. Let's see, am I missing any? Or is it just stuck on? All right, here's the part where I gotta be really careful. Put it on top, and hardware missing on that. That might be some of the buzz. That speaker wire was being crushed. I have to check the polarity 1 to 3 on this. It's got a splice, so it may need to be redone properly. I will probably do that while I have it out. It's just a little bit tricky to do with this connector. I may just shorten the wire as necessary. Let's see. There's a missing washer. got so many little nooks and crannies in here. I probably have to get in here with a magnet. But I will replace that. Let's see, are these 8x32s caps? Yeah, they are. Or at least these old caps nuts work with 11/32 driver. Get all those existing ones tight. And I've got some for that. Anyway, let me take a look at the speaker next. Oh, the cone looks quite good. Not getting any weird resistance like a voice coil. I'm going to do some listening to see if I hear any rubbing. I think I'm just hearing that sound as I flex the cone. Let me flip this over. I don't see any identifying marks on this at all, but this cardboard is loose all the way around, and it looks like it ought not to be. Is it a gasket? I'm unfamiliar with this speaker. Got some little partial tears in the cardboard. It looks like it ought to go beneath this. I may need to take this to my speaker guy who knows about such things, but that has got to be flapping around a little bit. It's got this big bolt. Take a look at the spider. I'm not sure if I can get this to focus where I want, but the spider seems good. Seems to be right where it ought to be. It's got these connections here, but you can't see what I'm doing. Just make sure they're not loose. That one's a little bit loose. The negative one is tight, the positive one is not. Is that a screw thing? I haven't had one of these in a long time come through. So make sure that connection is tight. Don't want any bad connections when it comes to the output of this amp. Don't want to lose that load. Yeah, it just tightens. Just a second, I'm going to turn on the flashlight. It's a flathead. Let's see if I got a tiny flathead that'll fit there. Very tight quarters here. Could be worse. This bit could have been magnetized at some point, in which case this would be just shooting to the back of the speaker. I'm just going to try to do this with finger force. Well, that did the trick. Sometimes when you don't have specialized tools, you just got to be stubborn. And now that that's done, I want to test, make sure the black and red are correct on this. So let me find where I've got a battery. I like to test things like this because sometimes things are labeled wrong. Now, moves out when positives to positives, so this is correct. I don't know that the wiring inside the cab was correct, though. I will ask my buddy, the speaker guy, about that cardboard flange. I'm going to see if I can identify this speaker. There's a code here, S345, or it might be an 8. That's the only marking I see on it. Seems to be in very good shape though. May not be original to the amp, I do not know. Aside from that weird cardboard, which might have been glued down at one point, I'm not seeing any real issues. I'll talk to my speaker guy. Let me check the wiring inside the cab. All right, this last round of snipe hunting came because I thought this might have been wired out of phase. And I just measured these. This is not a splice, this is just some tape so they can know which was which. This is going to 1, this is going to 3. 1 should be the positive, 3 should be the negative. It was wired backwards. So that's why I heard what I heard. I will redo this. I'm going to cut some of the excess off so I can avoid the area that was being compressed by that speaker. And I will wire this so pin 1 is going to the positive of the speaker and pin 3 is going to the negative, so that the absolute phase is being observed, which means if you use this with another cabinet in series like I did, as long as it is wired the same way, so the positive goes to the positive of the speakers, the cabinets will be in phase with each other. Now I could pretend to be a total audio badass and say, oh, I just heard it, man, it was off. I didn't hear it when it's by itself. It's very difficult to hear absolute phase. Once I had the other cab in series with it, I sure heard it. It wasn't a total cancellation because the cabinets contain different information. But basically, I heard almost nothing out of my cabinet, and I heard the low end out of this cabinet, the stuff that this cab has that my cabinet doesn't have. And it was not a good sound. People make all kinds of claims about polarity and phase in their hearing. Most people can only hear relative phase. They cannot hear absolute phase. I met one guy once who was a mastering engineer who could demonstrably hear relative phase, but it is a rare thing. And all the producers and engineers who were around me at the time were pretty much awestruck by the mastering engineer's ability to hear and identify correct and incorrect absolute phase. I, in that company at the time, was pretty much a glorified tape op and assistant to the assistant engineer. I was in rarefied company at the time. But the mastering engineer proved why he was doing what he was doing. And here I am now doing what I'm doing. But I can certainly hear relative phase, and this will sound a lot better once it's pushing instead of pulling. Before I put all this back together, though, I am going to take this to my buddy, the speaker guru, and have him identify it and test it thoroughly and tell me that it's good, or if not, that if it needs work. And he can tell me whether he needs to glue down that cardboard ring or whether it can just go away. But I think that might be something flapping around in the back. So more on the speaker later.